The Supreme Court has come out with their decision in the battle between Texas Governor Greg Abbott and President Biden over immigration enforcement. So basically, who has the authority when it comes to how immigration law is executed? Well, if you ask the Constitution, it's not an open question. And thankfully, the Supreme Court actually decided to go with that document, which they haven't been big fans of in the past few years. Here's the bad thing, though. While they did rule for President Biden and the federal government, the president's authority on topics of immigration, the decision was 5-4. One more vote the other way, and we would throw out hundreds of years of precedent about who has the authority in this area. And so that could potentially be coming up. In this case, John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett joined the liberals. So thank you, Amy Coney Barrett. But anyway, the particular topic that they're talking about here is whether federal officials can cut or remove parts of the concertina wire barrier that had been placed along the Mexico border with Texas to keep migrants from crossing into the state. But obviously the ruling will be interpreted as going beyond that. In response to this, Governor Abbott argued, quote, "The absence of razor wire and other deterrent strategies encourages migrants to make unsafe and illegal crossings between ports of entry." And this is a consistent position for Governor Abbott, like with the razor blade lined floating barriers. This is a guy who really believes that every migrant would be better off if they were bleeding out on the border with Texas. Whether it's on land or in the water, their skin needs to be separated from itself. The life force needs to leak out. Look, really, the reason I focus on this is a guy who would swear that he is a Christian, that he believes deeply, strongly held religious beliefs. And he is working harder than maybe anyone else in the country to kill migrants as they cross the border, to mutilate them, viciously injure them, perhaps kill them. And some have already been killed on the barriers that he has put up there. So that's a lot of fun. But anyway, just because the Supreme Court decided this, and just because the Supreme Court is by definition supreme, do not expect that that is the end of this, because according to a DPS spokesperson for Texas, they still consider themselves to have a lot of authority here. Take a look.
I just got back from Eagle Pass last night to kind of get a rundown of what's happening and what's going to take place with this whole Supreme Court decision. And nothing has changed, at least on our end, with DPS and National Guard. And in fact, National Guard is installing more barriers, more concertina wire, more fencing along the river to make it more challenging and try to discourage illegal border crossing. So Texas is not backing down.
I love that they don't have the balls to even just admit to kill more people as they're crossing. We think that more people should die in the crossing, and that should utterly horrify anyone who thinks about crossing. They don't have the balls to actually do that. But anyway, Sharon, that is an official saying. We're still doing what we're doing. The Supreme Court can say whatever they want. We don't care. And the fact that it's stacked with conservatives, that's convenient when it's convenient. But when they rule against us, we don't care. Where are their armies, I guess? What do you think?
I froze it really just the 5-4. We've entered absurdity, and we've existed here for a very long time. And what they're saying is we will break the law. It's a good thing they're not a doctor in Texas trying to perform an abortion to save a patient's life, a patient whose life depends on it, because then they would be immediately jailed, tried for murder, okay? This is wrong. Remember, we had on the Rio Grande, a woman, 2 children, dead. None of this matters. And I don't think it's satire or rhetoric. I think the things that you offered are exactly right. He wants to kill more of these people because he doesn't see them as human beings.
Yeah, and honestly, look, he's really focused on bladed weapons being applied to migrants, but he's arguably not the most bloodthirsty. Ron DeSantis is he cannot wait to talk to you about his plan to start shooting migrants. He is super excited for that. And Donald Trump just wants to separate all the families and store, hundreds of thousands of migrants along the border in literal concentration camps. So which is the worst? I don't know. But I find it so ironic that if you can get through the mounds of concertina wire and blades and all of that, then you might be lucky enough to get into Texas, a state that is pro-life. It's ridiculous, our politics.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.